My fellow Cyberpunks, what is going on, guys? Your dude Sly here, and welcome back to another Cyberpunk 2077 latest news video. As August is now behind us and we start to head into the fall, the season of gaming begins. The fall and winter, usually September through January, plays host to some of the largest releases of the year. Though things are, of course, a little different this year due to the crazy amount of crises going on around the world, there are still digital events, and even with delays aplenty, the end of this year will still be a great time to be a gamer. Around the end of August, the German city of Cologne comes alive as it hosts the annual Gamescom event, pretty much Europe's E3. However, due to Corona, it held its first ever digital event, and of course the show went on. Cyberpunk was of course at the top of the list in winning awards, which I'll talk about next, but we were also able to get a few peeks into the future with games like Dragon Age 4. However, even though there was nothing new coming out of CDPR, there's still a few things to talk about. So first, let's go over those awards, and then I'll take you over the latest stuff from the month of August as we wind it down. So with Gamescom wrapping up a few short days ago, CDPR walked away with a handful of awards, including, for some reason, Best PlayStation Game. But it went on to win Best PC Game at the show, as well as Best RPG, Gamescom Most Wanted Consumer Award, and then the coveted Best of Gamescom Award. Over 1 million tuned into the livestream last week, and millions more watched it after it aired. So congrats to CDPR for taking home Best at Show. One thing on everyone's mind though, of course, another delay. With the epidemic causing so many gaming studios to shut down completely or, end up working from home, it has caused a technical nightmare to get all of these next-gen games ready for shipment when everyone is separated. Heavy-duty workstation laptops for hundreds of people, fast connections, servers for downloading, uploading massive files, getting all of that, put it together, tested. That has to be tough, especially while you're in the height of development. But so far, CDPR is stating that their most recent release date is indeed going to be it. All of this worry stems from the first Night City Wire Episode 1 and some recent gameplay uploaded to YouTube when media got their hands on it for 4 hours. At least they got to play the very first intro missions. But during the gameplay, there's a street fight scene which is all hand-to-hand melee combat, a good old-fashioned fist fight. And it isn't exactly graceful. While I don't find it as bad as some, it does need a bit of tweaking. But again, we're looking at early gameplay here, more than likely captured on a stable build that was created months ago, so who knows what it looks like today. Total speculation on timings, but where everyone's working from home and all these technical limits are in place, I know it's definitely not super recent. A buddy of mine, Paris, has some lengthy gameplay and the full fight scene, which is where most of that criticism comes from. The small clip in episode 1, like I said, wasn't really all that bad, but the full fight scene shows it all. Again, links are down below, and you can see a quick clip of it in the background as we speak. Moving on to the same day Night City Wire Episode 2 debuted, an interview with Cyberpunk lead developer Pavel Kopala popped up over on the gaming site VG247, and within they talked about Melee in depth along with a few other things. Pavel goes on to say that melee combat within a first-person viewpoint is extremely difficult to get right and takes a lot of trial and error. So if you are one of the gamers out there that were worried over the fight scene, it is getting their full attention. Quote, "We're still a couple of months before release and I'm actually working on Melee. We're spending a lot of time trying to perfect that and we're not 100% happy, mostly with visual feedback on the hits, on the Melee. So we're still working on it. We're continuing to work on it," end quote. Senior gameplay designer Pavel Kopala continued on saying that, quote, "I'm happy to say that even right now, it's much better than it was, and it's going to get even better, and we acknowledge that this is something we need to perfect," end quote. So while worries haven't faded, work is being done across the board on Cyberpunk's melee combat. With so much going on, I personally doubt that a beta will be coming out for us to, actually check it out. So unless some more trailers debut, we're going to have to wait and see for release date for the final result. Another major point to talk about within Livewire Episode 2, and that of course are weapons. While I speculated this last year in my deep dive breakdown video, we now know that there is indeed multiple weapon rarities, and they follow the traditional color coding. There are 3 weapon types in total. You have tech, smart, and power weapons. All of them have rank from uncommon to legendary, and of course, the rarer the weapon, the better the specs. One thing CDPR has stressed this month is that Cyberpunk 2077 is first and foremost an RPG game, not a first-person shooter. Most games focus on the shooting aspect first and then RPG mechanics second, but CDPR is taking the exact opposite approach, focusing on upgrade paths and narrative while trying to twist the FPS aspect to fit around it. An example found within the VG247 interview, weapon stability. Most in-game weapons have stability as a static stat. I mean, sure, you can upgrade it with mods or whatever, but other than that, you get what you get. Within Cyberpunk, however, stability upgrades with your character as you become more proficient with that weapon. The longer you use it, the better it will handle, and that's with all the weapons in the game. However, it doesn't stop with stability. Weapon recoil direction, accuracy, or bullet spread and handling, all of these elements will depend on your gun proficiency. And of course, you upgrade that simply by using the weapon. In the interview, they talked about the first few levels and then, the end of the game, and they say you can notice a huge difference just by looking, let alone actually playing. Another topic discussed within this interview, destructible environments, and again, the link is down below if you want to read this interview for yourself. But simply put, CDPR wants this game to feel real, alive. They put a ton of work into reactive level design. If you shoot a pipe, steam or water will squirt out, boxes will break, street cones will move, etc. When you're in a shootout, it destroys the place, and CDPR wants to highlight that every chance it can. And the final weapon topic, legendary weapons. According to Pavel Kopala, legendary weapons are not just rare weapons with an extra perk added onto it, like most games. Legendary weapons are unique arms found on some of the toughest bosses and NPCs. They have stories attached to them, and the NPCs themselves can be seen using the gun throughout the game before it's given to you, the player. Now, most of them are custom one-offs or handmade, and the devs want you to feel connected to that weapon or the quest where it came from. A certain memory like, remember when I got this gun? I mean, how cool was that kind of thing? So that's definitely one thing to look forward to, the legendary weapons within Cyberpunk. Next, let's quickly go over one of the final points within the Livewire Episode 2 video, and that of course were life paths, something we've been talking about all through August. Back in late June, maybe early July, a handful of media and content creators were able to play the first 4 hours, or the life path intro quests, and a few of them had great breakdowns of what they were able to play, but they could only reveal so much, and within the last Livewire episode, we get a chance to see exactly what they did. And just in case you're trying to go in as blind as possible, this here is kind of spoilery, so if you don't want to know about the start of the game or any of the life paths, go ahead and peace out now. So there are 3 choices at the very start of the game. You can choose a life path of Corpo, Nomad, or Street Kid. Each life path starts you out in completely different areas along with completely different quests until you get towards the end where they kind of all merge at a central point. If you choose Nomad, you start out in the Badlands, the massive desert area that surrounds Night City. You start off trying to make your way inside. The Corpo path starts you off as an intelligence officer for the Arasaka Corporation, and then the Street Kid path starts you off returning to Night City after trying to find a better life in Atlanta. In Night City, you end up linking up with your old friends and help a bartender to get out of debt by stealing a sports car. Now, each path will have their advantages and disadvantages. Being Street Kid, you know nothing of the high-style corporal life or how they work. So in high-tension negotiations, you might not be able to choose certain dialogue options or negotiate deals that would benefit yourself. The Nomads loathe big city corpos, and their honest family-first approach is more than likely considered a weakness inside the big city. Each path has their own ups and downs. Which one will end up being the best? Well, according to a recent poll on Games Radar, after almost 200,000 votes, Street Kid ended up being the leading choice, but each life path pretty much was kind of equal, ended up with somewhere close to 30% of the votes. Street Kid won at 37.5%, Nomad 33.3%, and Corpo was basically at 29.2%. So the votes are fairly equal, and again, it's only a very small portion of the entire player base. And finally, guys, as we get towards the end, the last 2 things to take note of. First, the PlayStation Magazine. Issue number 179 features Cyberpunk 2077 as its main story, and also featured on the front cover. A lot of stuff is crammed into the article. Now, I haven't personally read all of it, and since it's behind a paywall and copyrighted, I can't post anything within it. But if you're a Cyberpunk junkie looking for a fix, I'm sure you'll find it right there. Again, the link to find it is down below, as well as all the other things we talked about inside this video. Alright guys, and this is something I had to come back and edit in later, but while I was making this news video, Nvidia presented their new lineup of GPUs. This generation of gaming GPUs are named Ampere, and they are the successor to the RTX 2000 lineup, the 2080, 2070, 2060, and of course all of their TI versions. Nvidia dropped news and specs about their incredibly new, beefy lineup, mostly replacing the RTX 2000 whatever for a 3000 name, such as the RTX 3080. But this time, Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, went out on stage to deliver a new SKU called the RTX 3090, an absolute beast of a gaming card in performance as well as price. However, others have come down in price quite a bit. For example, the RTX 2080 used to be close to $1,000, perhaps more if you chose an overclocked third-party card or a premium card, but this time around, MSRP for an OEM card for the RTX 3080 starts at $699, which is way cheaper than it used to be, and it's not too bad, and obviously aimed at taking on AMD in the price category, since AMD has their own new lineup coming out sometime this fall, October if the rumors are true. But what does all this have to do with Cyberpunk? Well, ray tracing and DLSS. We all know that The Witcher made graphics cards sweat, and Cyberpunk promises to do the same. But we've made multi-generational leaps since The Witcher 3, and with updated ray tracing and DLSS architectures in this new series of cards, Cyberpunk promises to look better than ever, and they just recently dropped a new trailer to show off some of the new ray tracing and DLSS. Nothing special, but it is news and it's cool to watch, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. And yeah, that about sums it up. There are smaller things to talk about, like how CDPR is including the ability to adjust subtitle size, but that kind of stuff is just being written because of the delay and journalists are dying for new information. And I guess I can't blame them since the game was supposed to be out back in April, but then it was pushed up to September 17th, which would be just a few short weeks away. But of course, we are now pushed up all the way to November 19th, and since there's such a huge gap from April to November, CDPR has to find a way to keep the hype up without giving away too much of the game, which I'm sure is no easy feat. But if anything big happens, you can be sure I'll be talking about it here on my channel. So that's it, y'all. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and for supporting Sly Nation. 2.5 months until Cyberpunk releases. Fingers crossed. So keep those alerts on and I'll keep making my news videos as long as news is being released. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe for plenty more Cyberpunk videos, Destiny 2 guides, and anything BioWare. Spank the thumbs up or down if you liked, loved, or hated the video, and if you wish to get in touch, business or otherwise, SlyNationGaming67@gmail.com or at Sly Nation Gaming on the socials. Stay safe, ladies and gents, and keep those eyes open for more Sly Nation vids coming out here soon, but until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Into the